Yesterday at the event, we were given the first ever machine learning keynote. This was a 2-hour dedicated session to how to use machine learning. It focused all the way from how to help the data scientist and the ML practitioner, all the way to how to embed some of the new sophisticated devices into your production line and fully automate that process so that your industry people don't need to concentrate on how to produce a solution around it. They can just use the insights and the diagnostics that come out of that pipeline to show when they need to do predictive maintenance or when something is going wrong and they need to intervene in that process. So it was great to see all those uses. And another key focus was around bias in machine learning. We've all seen news stories about how machine learning models have gone rogue and predicting strange things. This is a direct kind of attempt by AWS to address that issue, particularly when you're doing things with historic data that might have historic bias. It's about how to correct that. So it's good to see that AWS addressing some of those fundamental kind of standout things in the industry that are at the forefront of people's minds. Yesterday's two key takeaways for me was the focus around bias and making sure that models predict on balanced data, and that's going to be very important to address some of those use cases where you might have historic bias in your data. So for example, recruitment history in IT is something that Power Tech is addressing, but if you only got a body of historic CVs from a predominantly white male background, that obviously skews your predictive model in the future. So that's where Clarify comes in to look at that bias and address that bias. So that's really important. And the second thing is it's put machine learning into other developers' capabilities today. So things around the ML announcements around ML in Redshift, Neptune, etc. yesterday kind of allows more people to get involved in machine learning and kind of lowers some of those barriers for some of those development teams to get involved. AWS have shown the growing prevalence of machine learning. And the reason they're doing this is because it's both a disruptor and an enabler. It allows innovation in wider business, and it also helps to optimize things like your bottom line. So we've seen lots around customer service and using Connect to help make things more personalized for people. We've always seen use cases around how to optimize and reduce costs in production lines and that kind of thing. So machine learning is becoming more widespread. And it's also a differentiator. So you can also look at things like Snoop, who are embedding ML at the heart of their new fintech startup to do predictions on your accounts, on your current accounts, etc. And it's just both a disruptor, an enabler, and innovator. So that's why it's grown to such a strong prevalence inside AWS's thinking, and they're dedicating so much time of it, not only the keynotes and the focus yesterday, but also the amount of hours of development that's gone into building silicon, services, supporting frameworks, developing out feature sets in SageMaker. They are committing a strong and continuous amount of hours into furthering the ML agenda. The three key highlights I took away from both Andy Jassi's keynote and the keynote yesterday that was exclusively ML is the focus on customer impact and also optimization of processes. So 3 examples of this that stand out for me was the how to use Monotron and Lookout, etc. to monitor your production line, and then how you use Connect with Wisdom and Caller ID to make sure that you are treating individuals in your customer support team that contact your customer support team correctly. And lastly, there's the launch of Health Lake yesterday. So obviously this year, health, personal health care, everything is very important, and it was very interesting to see how AWS have now built a custom platform using all the underlying data analytics and ML capabilities to support the healthcare industry, which should hopefully mean in the next year it will help us to come out of the COVID-19 pandemic and also better position us for monitoring health in future and hopefully make breakthroughs in areas like cancer, etc. The main things that I took out of the keynote yesterday that really affects us being ML Partner of the Year, and areas that we really focus on is around training and how to distribute it, understand it better, get more deeper insights. The situations, like I explained yesterday, where you've got to train on a big CPU instance or a big GPU instance, but you need to balance those capabilities, make sure that you're feeding the data correctly and that you're using all the elements of the instance correctly. So the developments around profiling in model monitor and debugger to allow you to do that is something that I can't wait to play with. And then moving on into distributed training, making that easier for people to do, because it is quite a complicated subject to get to grips with. It will be interesting. We'll compare that to some of the work we do, how we distribute training across multiple cores and CPUs and GPUs, and we'll take it from there and see how great and how different and what happens there. Then lastly, I would like to spend time in the next kind of two or three weeks getting deep into Trainium and the new silicon from AWS that particularly focus around training models, and see what the outputs of that is, and also link it up with Inferentia, the chip launched last year for inference. So that should be impressive from a practitioner's deep dive perspective in the next few weeks to get into those new services and those new instance types and new chips. Machine learning is the biggest disruptor we've seen in the last 10 years inside IT. However, now it is branching out, and it's branching out across industry, be it healthcare, be it customer service, retail, public sector, wherever machine learning is starting to be used. Any business needs to think about embracing it and taking it on and using it as a disruptor, using it to innovate, using it to re-innovate in some cases for the next 10 years. Because if you're not doing it, somebody else, one of your competitors, is. Now, how you get started? Quite simple. Inner Wisdom does our Discovery as a Service opportunity that allows us to come in and look at your data and explore what it has and identify those opportunities. They may be top line saving, they may be bottom line saving, they may be the ability to innovate a new product out of your existing business. So we encourage you to contact us about that. And then if you haven't got data, don't worry about that either. Lots of the focus in the last week reInvent around Monotron, Lookout, Panorama is about how you can embed ML using your existing devices that are not smart, not edge devices, but you can connect them using other sensors and other bits of the AWS kit up to the cloud and start streaming in that telemetry from those devices, being their operating temperature, their revolutions per minute, etc., and start gathering that data that you can use to gather those insights and to innovate your business for the next 10 years.